Hi there, I'm Jen Grice from jengrice.com. I am a Christian divorce mentor and boundary coach. I help to empower women to reclaim their lives during and after divorce. Today I'm going to talk about the games that psychological abusers play. I have another video that I did about how narcissists act during divorce. This is more how narcissists and toxic people and psychological abusers act after divorce. So they play games, and I have written down a few of their games, probably not all of them. I have seen blog posts that go through each and every one of the 20 some plus games that psychological abusers play, but I'm just going to address a few of them when it has to do with divorce and raising children or co-parenting after divorce. First of all, when I talked about in the narcissist how they act during divorce video, I talked about revenge is their motive for everything. The same, it doesn't change after the divorce is final. If anything, sometimes it's revved up even more, that they feel that they must seek revenge on you however they can. They seek revenge through his relatives, your relatives, friends, and especially your children. And I'll add to this video as well, yes, I know women can do this as well. We're talking about the male abuser today. And another side note, I'm going to reading some quotes from Lundy Bancroft's book, When Dad Hurts Mom, Helping Your Children Heal the Wounds of Witnessing Abuse. This can be read during marriage, during divorce, or after divorce. There's a lot of great information in here. I'll put a link to purchase that on Amazon below. So the first game we're going to talk about is Keep Away. It also can be called division, triangulation, and it can be a form of parental alienation as well. So the game of Keep Away is to basically keep everyone, including your children, away from you. So in this game that he plays, he will request custody, like we talked about in the other video. He will request custody repeatedly after divorce. If he has tried and failed to get custody of the children, maybe he's gone to court several times. I have seen this myself, where a male just kept going to court to seek custody of the child, and the court determined that it wasn't in the best interest of the child to go live with the father. And because he still wanted to seek revenge, then he started telling the child, you can come live with me. And then they repeat that over and over and over to the child. Anytime the child says, Mommy was mean to me, Mommy took, away my games, or any of those kind of things, then he will say, well, you can come with me. I would never treat you like that. Where the mother is just parenting the child, doing the best she can to, raise a child that understands that there's consequences for doing such behavior, whatever it may be. But the abuser is seeking revenge, and he is seeking custody, and he knows if he gets the child away from the mother, which some of them do end up, I have readers and a couple friends, personal friends, who have lost custody because the father went back several times and sought custody and then finally won. Now keep in mind, in none of these cases was there any kind of physical, emotional, sexual abuse. The mothers weren't drug addicts. The mothers weren't bad mothers. It was just a matter of the courts decided in his favor. But like I talked about in the case where the father didn't get custody, it was found and reported, the court reported that the father was only seeking custody so that he didn't have to pay as much child support. And the court doesn't see that as a good reason, obviously, for custody. But unfortunately, a lot of men seek custody, more time with their children, just so they can pay less money, and then don't really want the children, and then don't pick up the children, don't see the children. It's really sad, but that goes back to retaliation. He's retaliating against you to win the children, and his job in this game is to keep them away from you. So reading from Lundy's book, he says on page 224, Some of my clients, and his clients are domestic violence abusers. They're either in his program or counseling with him because they're forced to by the courts, or they're there because they want to get help for their abusing of women. But all of his clients are male. Some of my clients do indeed turn more attentive to their children for a period, lavishing attention and gifts upon them. But those superficial changes turn out to be part of a campaign to win custody or damage children's relationships with their mothers, rather than signs of learning to better understand and prioritize their children's needs and feelings. So as he's saying is that sometimes when they file for custody or they are spending time with them and buying them gifts, it's only to seek that revenge. And he is a master manipulator, and as in most of Lundy Bancroft's books, he talks about that. And he uses triangulation to make the children believe any lies, that come live with me, it'll be easier and better, and that he wouldn't parent like that to actually discipline the child, which could be true. He might not discipline the child because he really doesn't want the child. He just wants to keep the children and any people away from you. I'll also add right here is that usually, not in all cases, but usually the abuser's parents will even get in on this retaliation. I have seen where an abuser's parents have filed complaints of abuse to retaliate against a good mother. I'm not saying all mothers are good. I'm only talking about the mothers that are doing the best they can to parent their children and yet are faced with retaliation from their ex and his parents. The grandparents might also try to pay off the children to come live with their father or lavish them with the gifts like the father is and let them believe that if they were to come live with him or them, that they would have all the things they could ever want. And most single moms can't afford to compete financially with that. And so, that's how they win, is by using their money as power to gain control and manipulate the children. Basically, all of them are trying to financially ruin you, and that's just another way that they retaliate. The next game that they play is undermine your authority. This makes him feel very powerful. He can create drama and fights between people. He can get the children and other people to disrespect you and be very disrespectful towards you. And going back to the last game, he wants to win the children to not only retaliate, but he sees them as property. Meaning that he owns them and he shouldn't have to pay for them or pay you for them, and that he wants to get them on his side. And kids learn to disrespect you as well as they see him being disrespectful towards you. And again, in Lundy Bancroft's book on page 51, he says, abuse undermines a woman's parental authority by its very nature because children learn from the abusive man's example that disrespecting you is acceptable. And another game that they play that ties in with that is disrespect and cross boundaries. And again, in the book on page 93 and 94, Lundy is talking about abuse is a boundary problem, and he goes on to explain, as I've explained before in other videos about boundaries, that they are limits that you have on yourself. And he talks about different types of emotional and physical boundaries, like not being looked at inappropriately, not wanting to feel suffocated by somebody emotionally or physically. And then he goes on to say, these kinds of physical and emotional boundaries may be specific to you, but you nonetheless have every right to expect and demand that they are respected. And he also says on page 95, abuse by a husband or boyfriend almost always includes some aspects of disrespecting the woman's boundaries. And the whole point of this game of disrespect and crossing boundaries is to continue to abuse you. He uses the children to send messages to you instead of talking to you directly, or like I always suggest to my clients is that they use email only for communication. that they not use text messages or phone and not be in this and not face-to-face talking. Also, and this is a big one, is that he will often show the children his sinful side or his risk-taking or things that he does that he knows and they know are wrong. Like maybe if you're still married and he has a girlfriend, or he's married to somebody else and has a girlfriend, he's going to show this behavior to the children, and this is appealing to their sinful nature, and so that makes Dad exciting. So Dad is a fun dad when he is breaking the laws, whether it's texting and driving or running red lights or speeding. That makes Dad the fun dad. And you are the boring mom who's following all the laws and the rules and doing things the right way with integrity. You're just not so fun. And so that goes back to the keep away game, where he looks more appealing to the children than you, mean, boring mom. The next game they play is mirror you. And so oftentimes they'll mirror what you say back to you as a way of disrespecting you and trying to bother you by what they're saying or to blame you. Or oftentimes, and then I have a video about this, about make you feel crazy, but they'll try to make you feel crazy. So when they mirror you, you might say, you lied. And they'll say, no, you lied. You say, you're disrespecting me. No, you're disrespecting me. They constantly turn everything that you say, you're bringing up something he's doing wrong, and then he will repeat back what you're saying to him and blame you for it. Instead of taking responsibility for his actions, he just somehow turns it around on you and mirrors everything back. And often this game is used to make you feel like you're to blame as well for everything. If you bring up any of the other games that he plays and say the kids are acting because you don't respect me, or they don't respect me because you're teaching them to disrespect me, they'll say, no, you're the problem. You're the controlling, mean mom, and so that's why they don't respect you. And we all know that's not the truth. The truth is these games that they play, games they play with the children, and they involve the children, and if you've gotten this far in the video, you know that this is exactly what they do, and it hurts you and it hurts your children, and they don't care. They have no empathy or care about what these games are doing to you or their children. They don't care that their children come home and are disrespectful to you. If anything, they love that. They love to know that their games are working and are affecting you. And so that's why I talk about in another video about just not engaging and not reacting to their comments and just trusting that God is in control and that He sees everything. He knows all that's going on. And when we trust God, we trust that the truth will always come out. And I don't believe in karma, but I do believe in reaping and sowing. And that is mentioned in the Bible, that each person will reap what they sow. And so a person who sows destruction, they will reap destruction, if not now, in the end of their life. They'll have to eventually face their destruction. And I have seen this happen even in my own life, where people who were playing games against me and taking friends from me, and then years later the friends come and apologize and say, we finally see the truth, and we're sorry. In some cases I can accept the apology depending on how much they hurt me, but other times I just had to say, or I just had to ignore and say, I can't trust that person. They've hurt our relationship too much to try to put it back together. So again, a lot of this stuff came from this book, When Dad Hurts Mom, and this talks a lot about the games that they play and tactics they use to hurt you and undermine your authority. I suggest any of Lundy Bancroft's books. All of them are good. I've read 2 of them, I think, and a lot of them are similar, but they're just great books for abuse recovery. And if you're still married, I definitely suggest his first book, Why Does He Do That? So if you have any questions, or you've experienced any of these games, or you'd like to comment about the games that you have seen a psychological abuser use, please leave a comment. Don't forget to subscribe and head over to my website, jengrice.com, for some helpful divorce recovery reading and to sign up for my email list. Thank you, and I hope to see you in the next video.